My journey continues as I return to Deerfield Lake for the second day, to check out another boat launch and to explore the southern end of the lake. For my second trip to Deerfield Lake, I decided to start at the Custer Trail Campground and Boat Launch, which sits on the west shore of the lake almost straight across from the Deerfield Cove launch. To reach the Custer Trails Campground and Launch from Hill City, South Dakota, take the Deerfield Road for 12.5 miles. After approximately 2.5 miles of gravel, turn right onto Forest Service Road 417. Follow this road through a cattle pasture to the end where you will find a small camping area with a dock and what, in my opinion, is the best launch on the lake. It was a beautiful morning in mid-July when I returned to Deerfield Lake. There was a very light breeze rippling the surface of the water, and from the end of the dock I could only see one other boat, which was headed into the Dutchman Launch, so it wasn't very long before I had the entire lake to myself. It was a Monday morning and there wasn't a soul at the campground or the boat launch, so I took my time unloading the kayak, checking my gear, and finally, standing knee-deep in the cool water, I sent my sister a text to let her know where I was, what time I would launch, and what time I thought I would be back on dry land. Phone signals are hit and miss throughout the Black Hills, and Deerfield Lake can be one of the toughest spots to find one. Knowing this, I had also told my son and daughter-in-law the day before what my plans were, just in case the message didn't go through from the lake. It's always best to paddle with friends, but if you do go alone, be sure that someone knows your plans and will check up on you if you don't return. The more time I spend on the water, the more I've come to love these quiet mornings by myself. Some people might consider this lonely, but our lives are filled with so much noise these days that we forget how healing the gentle sounds of nature can be. The call of a meadowlark or the splash of a fish have become just a few of the sounds I now crave when life gets crazy. The Custer Trail Campground is a primitive campground with 16 sites, vault toilets, and potable water available only during the summer season, which runs from mid-May until mid-September. Reservations are not available for this campground, and the sites are first come, first served, with self-pay availability at the campground. Be aware that the stay limit is 14 days and roads are not maintained during the off-season. Weather conditions will often prohibit access during winter months. And finally, please remember to pack out everything you bring in, including your garbage. Please take care of the area so others may enjoy it too. As I mentioned in the first video on Deerfield Lake, the entire lake is a no-wake zone with a speed limit of 5 miles per hour. Huge underwater rocks are probably the biggest reason for this. Paddling a kayak, canoe, or paddleboard, you won't have any problems with the rocks, and you'll certainly enjoy the quiet and easy pace of the lake. So many of the larger lakes in the Black Hills are popular destinations for motorboats, jet skis, and water skiing. So it's great to have access to one like Deerfield, where you can paddle without worry and enjoy nature without the noise and activity of the busier lakes. Without a doubt, Deerfield Lake is one of my favorites. Every lake I paddle has a surprise or two. For Deerfield, it was the clarity of the water. Fish are incredibly easy to see, and so are the rocks, plants, and sunken trees on the bottom. At times, it's almost like you're paddling on top of an aquarium. There are so many picture-perfect locations along the shorelines of Deerfield. Some, like this one, was so magical I actually went back and paddled it a second and a third time, just because it was so perfect. Unfortunately, that has also been the hardest part of making this video. I have over 4 hours of stunningly beautiful shoreline shots, and it's difficult to cut portions out. But I must. Deerfield Lake is literally surrounded by beauty. Around every point you will find a stunning view, made even more incredible by the clarity of the water. I have always collected quotes, and one of my favorites is by Chris Jamie. He said, "An overindulgence of anything, even something as pure as water, can intoxicate." Deerfield Lake has definitely intoxicated me. And then there's always a few surprises in the murky depths that make you wonder what's really at the bottom of the lake. But maybe it's better not to know, and to just let it add to the mystery. One of my favorite things about kayaking is the opportunity that a quiet boat gives you to sneak up on wildlife, including herons and geese. I see geese at almost every lake I visit throughout the summer, and I've learned many fascinating facts about them. First of all, the correct name is Canada geese, and they are found in every state except Hawaii. Both sexes look the same, but the males are approximately 10% bigger. They feed mostly on plant materials, berries, seeds, worms, and bugs. Every year during warm weather, they will molt or lose their feathers and be unable to fly for approximately 6 weeks. They begin to mate at 2 to 3 years of age, and breeding season runs from March to May. They usually mate for life, but they will often find a new mate if theirs dies. They have also been known to divorce their mate if one wants to reproduce and the other one doesn't. Every spring, the female will pick the nesting spot, build the nest, and incubate the eggs while the male stands guard. She will lay 2 to 8 eggs and have 1 brood per year. Be careful around nesting areas in the spring, as the male will protect the nest by hissing, biting, and slapping intruders with his very strong wings. The eggs hatch in approximately 28 days, and the goslings will learn to fly at 2 to 3 months of age. Sometimes older, more experienced geese will kidnap goslings from younger, less experienced parents and raise them with their own babies. The original parents will stay back and follow the group, but are not allowed to take their babies back. Known for their intensive parenting, both parents will stick around for about 9 months. The southwest end of Deerfield Lake is extremely shallow as you approach the inlet of Castle Creek. Deerfield Road runs south of the lake with Whitetail Loop in between along the southern shore. Turnoffs of Whitetail Loop will lead to picnic areas, Whitetail Peak State Campground, and an old boat launch that is great for paddlers. At several places along the shoreline, the water suddenly appeared to be very shallow, but I never ran aground once, and I was usually as surprised by how deep the water actually was when I dipped a paddle in to check. As I turned north from Gold Run Cove at the southeast end of the lake, I was fascinated by the underwater views. All along the shoreline, huge rocks would suddenly appear beneath me, and in other places, rugged underwater cliffs would drop off beside me without warning. It was a weird sensation, especially for someone used to dark, cloudy waters. Then turning to cross the lake, I was pointed back to the Custer Trail boat launch. I have never crossed a lake on such smooth water before. The reflections of the distant shoreline was so clearly defined it was unbelievable. As I neared the shore on this perfect day, the wind picked up and the spell was broken. It's entirely possible Deerfield Lake has spoiled me. Its beautiful shoreline, abundant wildlife, delicate wildflowers, and above all else, its crystal clear waters has set the standards high for all the other lakes I will paddle. I can't promise you a day without wind or a lake all to yourself, but if you're there early in the morning, that's your best shot at a perfect day on the water. I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed Deerfield Lake. Please like the video and subscribe to my channel if you would like to see more of the Black Hills Lake Challenge.